Make in India has been keeping us really busy. We should be working in India. India is the place. How can you be an Indian company if you're importing 100% of your stuff? Cricket is like, it runs in our DNA. If you're Honey Singh, at that time, whatever he was creating, anything he was creating was going viral,
Right.
Anything. Our audience is mad for the great career. India is the place where you should be starting your business or your career. What is luxury I got into? Some of my friends call me a machine, and I humbly take that. At Ubon, we believe feedback is the breakfast of champions.
Today I have with me Mandeep Arora, who started along with his father and brother in 1999 and started a company called Ubon. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, a Happy New Year. It is 2025 and we are starting out Let's Chat with GB with an exceptional guest who runs an exceptional company. Today I have with me Mandeep Arora, who started along with his father and brother in 1999 and started a company called Ubon. Ubon today has become a household name in the space of consumer electronics, anything audio, cables, speakers and more. Some big things happening, and this is one conversation you're really going to enjoy because we're going to get into the inner workings of the industry, and you're also going to hear from, like I said, an exceptional individual. First of all, Mandeep, welcome to Let's Chat with GB, and it's great to have you in the house.
Thank you, Gaurav, for inviting me, and must say it's an impressive setup. And Happy New Year to you and your team.
Thank you. And such great things happening. Of course, humble beginnings from where it all began, but exceptional stuff happening at Ubon. So what's the latest? What is it that's really keeping you busy, and where's all the action and activity at right now?
Well, I'll say Make in India has been keeping us really busy.
Yeah.
At the work front, India is a land of opportunities. People often say to me that why aren't you exporting so much? Why aren't you looking overseas?
Right.
So my answer to them is India is so huge, so massive. Even if it takes 20 years for me to cover
Right.
it won't be possible.
Yeah.
So India is the place where we should be looking at. And quarter 2025, my one thing is going to be WOD. WOD is width of distribution. So
Nice.
we are trying to penetrate like most of the FMCG companies do.
Right.
And that is where Ubon is heading. And there is a lot of scope in that.
Love that. And we're going to touch upon all these aspects because, of course, you spoke about, made in India and the make in India piece. Even you spoke about getting into your width of distribution and also getting into, I guess, tier 2, tier 3 and even tier 4 cities. And I think you were sharing something very interesting with me about that as well. And I think Kasganj came up as a reference point, and
Kasganj, yeah.
we'll talk about that, in due course as well. But let's touch upon, make in India. And is that really happening, especially in your industry, where I see this with a lot of labels, and they're saying, oh, we're now making in India, or that that small lion is there, which is there on the box. But are they actually making in India, or is it kind of a gray area there?
So Gaurav, very well put. As industry veteran, you know this, that a lot of I'll not say scam, but a lot of things are going in the industry where 1 + 1 is often termed as 3. So lot of SKD products. SKD means semi, for the people who don't know, SKD stands for semi knockdown condition, and people are getting a lot of SKD products from China and other countries.
Right.
And what the brands are doing, they're just tightening up the screws, they're packaging nicely, and they're saying it's made in India. I'll differ here. It's not made in India. It is assembled in India. It is packed in India.
Yeah.
But at Ubon, we make sure that we make the product from scratch.
Wow.
So we are using the plastic powder to build our housings, our casings.
Amazing.
If you happen to visit our factory, we are making Bluetooth speaker. Even from the plastic ka dana, jisko bolte hain, छोटे particles se. I'll show you the warm, hot housing coming out of the machine.
Fantastic.
And then how we are assembling the semiconductors on our SMT machines.
Really?
And then how we are making it. So that is how it is. This is called Made in India.
Yeah.
And most of the companies, most of the brands are misleading Indian consumer by saying it is made in India or made by an Indian company. How can you be an Indian company if you're importing 100% of your stuff?
Say about that. So true. Wow, that's crazy. And again, I mean, like you said, you won't keep it as strong a word as a scam, but it is kind of a misrepresentation for sure. And I think that's but great to know that you're actually going ahead and you're backward integrating all the way to even getting into the housing, the plastics, and all of that. But in this case, does it require obviously a lot of capex expense, like in terms of machinery, equipment, space? So what kind of capex would someone be looking to do if they had to go down this route?
Yeah, I'll say start with small. First, be a good student, study the industry,
Right.
and see what is really happening out here. Then one should be looking looking at two things, maybe internal and then the external.
Yeah.
What are the internal capabilities?
Yeah.
What are the resources one has? And then external, what is the world demanding from you? And if all these factors sum up to a good number, then one should start the unit.
Interesting.
And before setting up the factory, I'll say one should get good numbers from the customer, from the
Right.
market side.
Right. Yeah. And like you mentioned, maybe test the waters first. Don't
Yes.
jump in with
Yes.
both feet first.
Yes.
See, get
Do
your
a
feet wet.
pilot,
Right.
yeah.
Right. See how that goes. Okay. And you spoke about the width of distribution. Okay. So talk to us about where Ubon today is in terms of the number of cities, the presence that you have, the kind of dealer network, and well, let's talk about the numbers first, and then talk about how you built it, how you engage them. But let's hear about numbers in terms of outlets, cities, coverage, etc.
Now, that's a good question, and that's my favorite one as well.
Mm.
So Ubon started its journey like 20 years back.
Correct.
And we were the first brand to set up our dealer distribution network
Right.
across India. And now we are present in more than 3,000 towns and cities. And India overall has 4,000 towns and cities. So we are like 70 to 75% present in India.
Fantastic.
But still, we are not present in the other 2,000, other 1,000 towns and cities.
Correct.
So our target is to expand our network there as well.
Yeah.
And also, wherever we are already present, we are planning to get our share of the market up.
Right.
It should
Right.
go up.
Of course. Of course.
So
Great. Wow. And in terms of if we talk about channels, what is your favorite? And of course, you have an online presence as well, and there is a B2B, presence as well. So we at Consortium obviously sell a lot of, Ubon too. So between offline, online, and the B2B, which is your favorite channel amongst these?
that has to be offline.
Has to be offline.
Yeah, where we get 99% of our business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which one are you most excited about in terms of where do you see growth percentage like growing, in the
So-
future as well?
I'll say wireless speakers. We're coming up good. We're getting very good response. We are very bullish on wireless speakers
Yeah.
this year because India is a music nation.
So
Everyone
true.
wants to hear music, and good quality speakers have become rare in the category
Yeah.
of the speakers we are working in. The market share we have, they are the people. I guess 90% of the brands are just importing speakers. So there is a big gap, and there is a lot of scope for the customer delight as well.
Of course.
So we're working on that aspect, and we are getting very good results.
Awesome. Yeah. And of course, you've done a lot of great celebrity endorsements over the years and in the past as well. And I know many years ago when you guys were first really shooting up in the marketing space, it was Tiger Shroff who became your celebrity brand ambassador. So what was that like? Because you also have this knack of picking celebrities before their stars have really started to rise and shine. So how did the Tiger Shroff thing come across? And let's talk about that time as well.
So there is an interesting story behind it. I went to Amritsar in 2016, and we were looking, to get some hoardings in the city, because a lot of tourists, a lot of devotees go to Amritsar.
Yeah,
It is the
yeah.
second most visited tourist city in India, I guess, after Varanasi.
Sure.
Or Agra also.
Right.
Agra has good numbers as well. So we went there. There was a person who owned a marketing agency. He told us, "You want hoardings, but for what?" I said, "We want to, have some good mileage for the Ubon brand. Perhaps
Correct.
we can do some advertising." Then he gave us a very interesting idea. Man, see, with all due respect, you want the hoardings, I'll get you, but this is taking you nowhere. I said, "What and why?" He said, "You don't have a face. People need a celebrity face," and
Right.
that really hit me.
Right.
That was my aha moment.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said, "Okay, that's the
Yeah.
way." Now perhaps this is the time we should level up and get someone,
Nice.
and maybe the people, then the customer will start recognizing. So
Right.
Ubon was one of the first brands who got a celebrity.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, and especially if I'm thinking about my travels around small town India. Recently, I was with the family, and we had gone between Bagdogra, Siliguri. Every hoarding that I would see, even for TMT bar, it had to have Kapil Dev, Adhoni,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's how the impact is really created in small town India, and I think that made a lot of sense, and I'm sure that's really given a lot of visibility as well. How about Tiger Shroff? Like, why did you decide Tiger Shroff, and why not anyone else at that time?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question as well. Back then, like 2017, we asked this question from ourselves: if Ubon had a brand personality, then what it will look like?
Right.
And then we asked this from our customers as well, our partners as well, and everyone is like, they see Ubon as a person. If Ubon was a person, he would be very fast, very energetic, moving very fast, and he would be like also be having a rebel attitude, who go against the trend, or maybe they set up their own trends. So then there were two people, I'll be honest with you. First was Tiger Shroff, and then second was Yuvraj Singh. So we had a good debate on whom to get on board, and then our marketing agency said Yuvraj Singh is like wow, but Tiger is the person, Tiger is the star you should go with.
Right. Yeah. So like emerging Visubays.
Yeah.
Perhaps I think Yuvraj at that time was probably at his peak, and I was probably only going to go downhill from there. And
He
great
was
choice.
going,
Because,
he was going.
yeah.
Yuvraj was my favorite. My marketing agency said you should go with Tiger because Yuvraj's career is going now down south. Yeah.
Of course. And you've always had a passion for sports and cricket as well. I believe.
Yes, yes.
Right.
I even went to his home and met him, Yuvraj Singh. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So interesting. And post that, I mean, of course, you've made very interesting picks. Like I remember one time, and the reason why I say this is because when I was a kid, I was very fond of WWF, now WWE. And one time I see you launching a speaker, and the great Kali is walking in. It was a big ass speaker, right? So it was almost a really smart choice again. So then you pick Kali. You've also had Yo-Yo Honey Singh, who's been associated, and of course he's been in the news for a lot of reasons recently. So what then brought around that pick? Like how did the great Kali happen, and how did Yo Honey Singh happen?
So the Great Khali was a pure fan moment, I'll say. The Great Khali, we have all seen WWE.
Correct.
And Indian going to the world arena and defeating the heavyweights
Yeah.
was like a proud moment for I guess most of us as kids. We all used to play trump cards, we call them. Yeah. So the Great Khali was one of the characters or one of the cards, and we always had big respect. And I'll tell you what, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, our audience is mad for the Great Khali. So we have done road tours with him, and we have been swarmed by crowd like
I'm sure.
500, 1,000 people, running, or walking behind our jeep. It was like wow moment. So that was again an attempt to hit the mindset of tier 2, tier 3 audience, and it worked pretty well for us for those 2 years.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned trump cards because when I was 16 years old, one of my first ventures was I created the pack of the trump cards, like the first pack of trump cards
Wow.
ever made in the country.
You told me.
was
Yes,
me,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
of course, that time we didn't have Kali, we had the Undertaker and Hulk Hogan and all these guys. But
Yes.
it was crazy. People, remained very, very crazy about WWE. Some people, of course, still are.
Still,
But,
and Undertaker was one of the best cards, I guess. Whoever has Undertaker, he was like the winner, right?
True that.
And imagine the Great Khali defeating Undertaker. That was like,
Yeah, I think pure entertainment. WWF was hard to beat. I think
Yeah.
it was just ultimate entertainment. Growing up, especially at that time. How about Yo-Yo Honey Singh? How's that been? How's that been as an association?
so Honey Singh, Yo-Yo Honey Singh is like, a big, again a fan moment, I'll say. I've worked out listening to his song. And at that time when, we used to hear from MP3 players, and that was, those were the times,
Yeah.
And he was the king, you are seeing Amitabh Bachchan, you are seeing Salman Khan, you seeing all, Shah Rukh Khan, all approaching towards him to get a song from him in their movies.
Yeah.
That was the glamour which any other star is yet to see.
Right.
No other singer has seen this era.
Agreed.
And this is purely because of Yo-Yo Honey Singh's, at that time, whatever he was creating, anything he was creating was going viral,
Very true.
Anything.
Very true. And he's of course back in the news now, and Millionaire's done pretty good at the song too.
Yeah, so, I hear it, doing my workout. Millionaire is going amazing. I guess it does 300 crore views, something like this.
Yeah, it's popping up, all the time on Insta as well, and it's used
everywhere. You're hitting it everywhere, right?
Yeah, so true. So you've at core been a great marketer, right? And you've been, of course, you've been instrumental in making, the brand, and taking the brand where it is. Though I know you're very, humble and you don't really, take a lot of
I was
credit
about
for
to
it.
say I'm a student of marketing. Okay.
Yeah, but where did the realization come that when it's time to build this brand and to differentiate yourself from everyone else in the marketplace, like marketing is going to play such an important realize like aspect, and when did the realization really set in for you?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I have to do some deep diving and find an answer for that question. So I'll give all the credit to my dad for this. So he has always been a visionary. So we started importing from China in 2000, 2001.
Right.
Not many people were importing at that time.
Right.
And then by 2014, 15, importer was like, a very common thing.
Right.
Anyone was importing from China. So my dad, he told me that now maybe it's the time to go for Make in India.
Right.
And then we were trying to find, the barriers which we could set up in the industry.
Right. Right.
And Make in India was one of the things. Second was marketing. I could see like after 5 years there are going to be so many brands who will be making up almost the same quality or
Very true.
almost same products. So maybe we need to stand out for that.
Yeah.
So that is the time we thought that we have to do something differently.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you've obviously made some very interesting picks. You've had the Rajasthan Royals now, and
Yeah.
I was seeing the last edition of the IPL. In fact, maybe the last two. You've had Ubon branding. Is it on the helmet?
Yeah, it's on the
It's the
helmet.
helmet sponsor,
Yeah,
right?
it's on the helmet. Yeah.
So that was a big risk, because to become a sponsor of an IPL team and getting it's a big investment to make as well. But how did that play out for you? And I believe you're looking at extending that further perhaps. So yeah, give our listeners and viewers some background on that as well.
Yeah, so the core idea behind going for the IPL was IPL is the biggest property, one of the biggest properties in the world.
True.
When it comes to sports tournaments, and it is the most sought after tournament. And Rajasthan being like very near to Delhi, and moreover our partners, majority of them are Marwadis. They are from Rajasthan, so there was a core idea behind it, and they take a lot of pride being from Rajasthan. They take a lot of pride,
Right.
And then getting along with Rajasthan Royal played out very good for us, because India is a cricket playing nation. I guess
Very true.
there is no sport which can even come second to cricket. Cricket is like, it runs in our DNA.
Bilkul.
And I'm sure you must have
Of
played,
course.
childhood, and I have played it as well. I play till now,
Yeah.
So cricket has come up very well for us, like Rajasthan Royal. And once you see a brand associated with an IPL team, as a consumer, something comes to your mind, kuch to sahi kiya hoga is brand ne,
Bilkul.
That means they are serious about their business.
And I think the watch time and the eyeballs that IPL gets is unparalleled, right? I don't think anything is getting those kind of views and watch time as IPL is getting.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
And you intending to now carry on this relationship?
Yeah, for 3 more years we've signed up with them
Lovely.
for 3 more years. We go for long-term partnerships.
Right.
That defines the personality of the brand as well, the authenticity of the brand.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, because I see a lot of people who have the splash and dash, attitude, where they come in and they splash everywhere, and then they've got in their money, they've got in their investors, they've got in the traction they wanted, and they're gone. But you guys, interestingly, are also a bootstrapped company, right? You've never let any equity, go to investors.
Yeah.
So is that the case?
Yeah, that's the case. Yeah, we take humbly we take a lot of pride in that we are a bootstrap company, and we never focus on the top line. It's always about the bottom line, how strong you go there, and the core purpose is to serve the end consumer, to have the impact of a made in India brand.
Love that.
And that is the crux, I guess, and it's working pretty well for us. We are not making big news, but we are there present, in the deep remotest corners of India.
Yeah. No, I think it's very important where you said that we are bottom line focused, because I think a lot of companies, of course, and people who are listening in and starting out, I always believe, that, top line is vanity. And लोग बोलते हैं भाई हमारा turnover इतना ज़्यादा है, we have such, these many hundreds of thousands of crores of turnover. Bottom line is sanity. Okay, so in the end you have to see, are you making a profit or not? Because what is happening is we have too many companies that are doing crazy numbers in terms of their top line, but they're destroyed in their bottom line. They have crazy losses that is really happening. And of course, the third and most important one is cash. Like, how much cash do you have in the bank? So, if top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity, cash is king. Right? How much cash do you have, for further expansion? How much cash do you have, for new product development, for marketing, all of these aspects. And I think this is one thing that is too ignored in today's Shark Tank world, where everyone wants to come in and say, "Haan ji, itna hamara top line hai." But even investors today have become smarter. Even they're now saying, "What is your PAT?" Right? Are you seeing that change happening even amongst your circles? Because I know you move around in a lot of circles with a lot of business owners and families as well. Are you seeing that change kind of happening there as well?
Change is there. It has been there. Now the bubble has finally it has blasted. Now people now know it, that this this startup whole ecosystem 1 out of 100 companies is doing well. Rest of the 99 companies are just here, like you said, splash and dash. They're here for the quick money. They'll come and ultimately फंसेगा कौन? The last man standing down, who has the छोटा investor होगा, investor भी नहीं होगा जिसने share buy किया होगा उनका, वो जाके फंसेगा वो. So अभी बहुत कुछ change हो गया है अभी. People have started realizing that every startup is not a gold mine. In fact, most of the startups are, they are not here to do what they say.
Yeah.
They claim they are doing a lot of good things, but they don't.
Agreed. And you're right. And currently, and it's very interesting, I was reading something on the Bloomberg, and they said that since 2020, since the time of the pandemic, now 5 years, the new age investor who came into the market, sitting at home and started entering the market, these people have never seen a downturn. Okay, now there has been a correction, let's say in the stock market of 7, 8, 9%, and already log bore hawa nikal gaye, itna kharab ho gaya, mar gaye. People who came in at the peak in September, October are saying, I don't know, will we ever recover our money? They got into stocks which are not the best. And I think you're 100% right, where what happens is the little guy is the one who's always who ends up holding the bag or the ball, because the big guys have all got out, the smart money is out, and चेप के चले गए मतलब to the little guy.
तो ये जो छोटा इन्वेस्टर है, जो जिसने इंडिविजुअल ने जिसने शेयर लिया, आई गेस उनको ये समझना पड़ेगा कि भैया अल्टीमेटली कंपनी के पास वो प्रॉफिट है भी या नहीं है. बॉटम लाइन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. आर से सिर्फ रेवेन्यू से नहीं होएगा, इट हैज़ टू बी बॉटम लाइन.
And I loved it when there was this gentleman, I've got to name him, but he owns a very big broking firm, and we were speaking on a stage, recently, and people prior to him had come, हाँ जी हमारी इतनी बड़ी company है, these many, again, thousands of crores and all that. This guy got up on stage and he said, my profit after tax is 170 crores.
Fish, don't tell
I said, till date, I have never heard a guy who comes and talks about, his PAT number and not his turnover number. लोग चौड़ा के बोलते हैं, भाई हमारी इतनी 1,000 crore की company है. What do you have in terms of your profit? What do you have in terms of your bank debts? Okay, people have gone into crazy debts. huge losses. They know they're just waiting that, someday someone will come and, rescue them. But I just loved how this guy said, my PAT is this much. I thought that was very interesting.
And I guess people need to start, realizing that it is not all that rosy as well. It is not rosy. The PAT should be asked, but the first question should be PAT.
Yeah, and which is what is happening. Of course, again, we're seeing the SME IPO space, and we have so many friends, I'm sure yours and mine as well, who are looking at this market and saying, oh, it's time to capitalize, our company.
I got
and
a lot
our
of
brand,
offers, yes.
Right? When do you think is the right time for someone to actually go down that route and say, okay, maybe I want to do an SME IPO or an IPO? When do you think, according to you, is the right time?
As an investor?
As even a promoter. So let's look at it from the promoter's hat right now. So if you born at some point, of course, you say you don't need to and there's enough, accruals from business. But if you born as a company was ever to go down the route of an IPO or an SME IPO, what would be your motivators and when do you think would be the right time?
So I guess maybe then the growth percentage is going to play a very important part. Say we are growing like 20% annually, and if that path can gives us 100% growth or 200% growth, then that will be the path we should be taking on. But again, then the most important part comes in hunger. How hungry are you? Are you really hungry for the growth, or are you content with what you are doing right now?
And also, I think the responsibility that you have to shareholders, which I know as a promoter you would never want to let down. I think as a responsibility towards just the community as such. I don't think you would want to compromise on those values.
Those values, and plus as a founder as well, I wouldn't like someone to ask me to sit or stand. I'm the man of my own decisions. I like to take the decisions myself, and plus, abhi zarurat hai hi nahi, honestly,
I love that. Yeah. And I think not many people may not know this, but you had very humble beginnings, growing up. Your father had a store in a shop in Lajpat Rai Market.
Yeah, 6 by 8 shop, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So 6 feet by 8 feet, which would be, kind of the area that we have just in this section.
Half of this area maybe, Yeah.
And for people who haven't visited Lajpat Rai Market, probably, picture will pop up. Maybe, Mandeep can share. Do you still have a picture of the store from that time?
No, I don't have the picture, but so maybe we can get some video, out from the market. Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think if you just see the place where they started from and where they've actually gone to. And I remember going to Lajpat Rai Market a lot because in the early days, when I started out, at Consortium as well, I used to spend a lot of time in Lajpat Rai Market, right? Goelji used to be there and Mole Enterprises and all that. So I used to, pick up a lot of stuff from him. We used to travel to China a lot together as well. But the point is, I have seen the size of, Shakti Times, for example. घड़ियाँ आती थी हमारी वहाँ
Shakti
से.
Times, okay.
The watches.
Babulal ji, I guess. Yes,
Yeah. So then, of
nice.
course, the sons came in later. Sandeep and
Nice.
Rajesh, Optima,
Nice.
they created and all
Optima,
that.
yes, Optima.
Yeah.
They have
So,
a unit in Kundi.
I go back to the time when they were just Shakti Times. And that was, of course, when we started.
Long time
out
back.
as
It's
well.
like late 90s maybe.
Yeah.
Or early 2000s.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So I think that's when the association really started. I spent a lot of my time in Lajpat Rai Market. I used to be
Really?
there once a week at least.
Wow.
So I know where you.
Why we didn't meet at that time,
Yeah. Were you guys maybe on the right side? But
Yeah,
this was the
yeah,
left side, right?
you were
So
on
the
the left
speaker
side,
market was on the right side.
Yeah.
And the road happened, and then this was. So all these guys were on the left side of the road.
Yeah.
So Shakti Time.
That was a new
Mr.
market.
Goyal.
That was called New Lashma Market.
Correct.
And we used to sell VCB VCRs. If you could recall, VCB VCR, the big cassette.
Of course.
So that was my first product I got hand of. Yeah.
Wow. So imagine coming from there to where you are today, and of course, you have mega projects now in terms of factories, new factories. Amazing. I think that itself is like what a phenomenal story.
God is very kind. I'll say, yeah. God is very kind, super kind.
Yeah, but of course, it's a lot to do with even the action and the activity and the levels of passion and like I said, energy that you bring to the business. I think those things are very, very important. And the teams that you've created, I think it's truly the team that's the teamwork that makes the dream work, right?
So I'll say I've learned all of this from my friends, And the biggest thing is, the biggest superpower I have is the student attitude. Wherever I go, I pick something, I learn something from there, and then I just implement. The speed of execution is like good with us.
Yeah.
We try to implement ASAP, whatever is possible.
Yeah. And I've noticed one thing about you that, and I'm of course, a big fan of Simon Sinek also, because it was only after I read Simon Sinek that I decided that, okay, I can't be doing only gifting. I have to be looking at, other aspects. And that's where, the GBA came up and, podcasts and other things really came up. But you're one person I know who always, when he meets someone or in a social situation, is always asking people why. Okay, like why do you do what you do? You're never asking what do you do. You're never asking kaise karte ho, like how do you do it. It's always about the why. So where did that thought process, really come from? And what do you intend to gauge when you ask someone their why? What do you intend to gauge from that?
So I'll be honest with you. I got this attitude after reading this book only, Simon Sinek, and I believe this that the stronger your why is, the stronger your purpose is. Better your actions are going to be. So this is the reason I always ask why, 1 to 10, how strong is the purpose? And you can see in the companies, the stronger their why is, they're doing very good.
So true. Because I think what happens with the why and the purpose is that, I sometimes hear people say money is my why. I'm like, bhai, agar money is your why, then to khatam ho. Then nothing's going to happen. Money can't be your why. Okay, that truly has to be your purpose, right?
100%, yes.
The money will be the result of your why.
Yes.
Right? And I think people sometimes they make that mistake that they say, "Arey, paisa mera why."
They're very blunt. They're very blunt in saying that, Yeah.
And it's crazy. And I'm like, okay, like, what are you saying? And because the thing is, when times are bad, and people will have bad times, the economy will go down, or, something will happen, there will be crises in your life. If that why is not strong enough, you're not going to get out. You're not going to be able to overcome that crisis, right? You will be bogged down and say, khatam hai, chodo, nahi ho raha mere se. You will give up, right?
Yeah, because they don't know why they're doing it.
What is the why for Mandeep and Ubon? So we'll take them two separately.
Yeah.
Let's take Mandeep and then say Ubon.
So missile has been fired on me for the why thing, okay. So I'll say the why for me is going to be to stand up as a good made in India brand. I want to be the proud Indian who can say that, okay, we have got 5,000 people within the Ubon ecosystem.
Love it.
And that is the impact we want to have on the Indian economy.
Right.
And this is the reason we are focusing more on made in India thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really, really important, and that brings in a strong vision, and a strong drive to do what you go ahead and do, and which is why you're making all this investment, in the brand, in the manufacturing, and the people, of course.
And now it's India's time. I think we all should come up the stage and show, if not to the world, then to ourselves only. Yes, we are doing good.
And is your company's why and your why, is there any bit of differentiation over there?
No, it's aligned. It's very much aligned. It's very much aligned. So we are focusing all our resources in manufacturing and in WOD. So two things we are working, and it is coming up very well for us. Our factory is running like 24 hours a day. Wow. So it's packed day and night. They're working, and this is off season. So Jan, Feb, and March.
Right.
is an off season for our industry.
Correct.
But we are now amused what is going to happen in April, May, June, which
Amazing.
is like the peak season.
Yeah, and I think also what is happening is that there was a time where it was sometimes considered seasonal in terms of demand, but I think now what is happening also with the penetration of e-commerce, more disposable income. I think people aren't only now spending at the time of Diwali
Yeah.
and Christmas and New Year's. I think now it's become like a year-round phenomena, and I think the Indian youth, and in fact not even the youth, even the elderly, are now looking at upgrading, changing, and it's not like acha jab टूटेगा तब replace करेंगे. Now if they see something new and something that they like, they're just going to go ahead and grab it anyways.
So we can say the mindset is changing
Yeah.
of an Indian consumer. 20 years back the mindset was on the savings. Now is भाई जी लो अभी जो जीना है,
So true.
maybe not credit card, but जो मेरी जेब में पैसा है मैं उसको तो use करूँगा. And it is coming good for the Indian industry as well. And the consumption is still, I'll say, is average. अभी जब जाएगा consumption तो बहुत rocket ऊपर जाएगा एकदम.
Agreed. I think definitely at least millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. I mean, their motto seems to be YOLO. Like it's like you only live once. Just go out there and enjoy.
Yes, yeah, and it makes sense as well. Unless and until you're living a life on credit, it makes perfect sense to enjoy whatever you have in your means.
So true. Important lesson. I thought let's do some rapid fires. I thought that would be interesting. So I'm going to bring up certain words and certain phrases, and then you just say the one or two words that really come to your mind. Okay, so this is going to be a rapid fire round. So you ready for that? Okay, first up, Apple or Android?
Apple.
Yeah. Okay. One thing you can't start your day without.
Gratitude.
Love that. I think it's so powerful. Same for me. Yeah. A hidden talent that no one knows about you.
I'm a poet.
Oh wow! Well, nice. We should have a poetry recitation then today. What's your most productive time of the day?
Morning when I'm working out.
Yeah. And what time is that normally like?
6 to 7.
Love it.
Yeah.
And you're working out every day?
Every day.
Fantastic.
30 days a month. Yeah.
Fantastic. Wow. Interesting. Your go-to stress buster?
Music.
Awesome. Any favorites in terms of singers?
Singers. Yo-Yo Honey Singh.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Biggest risk that you've ever taken in business?
So we imported TVs once, like 20 years back. That was a big flop. And I learned a very important lesson. Never start any product line without studying the line.
Love that.
The helmet TVs, which used to come in 2005-06, the smaller ones.
Yeah. Interesting. And at least there's an important lesson that you learned from there as well.
Yeah.
A habit that keeps you on track?
Reading.
Love it.
I'm an avid reader. I love to read books.
Yeah, awesome. Favorite book?
It is One Thing.
Yeah.
One Thing.
Powerful. I have read that as well.
Amazing book.
Yeah. A movie character that you identify with?
My friends used to call me Amir Khan from Dil Chahta Hai because I was a prankster back then in my college. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That's a super movie as well.
Yeah.
Which would you choose? And I know both of these are very big for you. One side we have marketing and the other side we have networking. So given a choice, which one would you choose?
Marketing and networking. Networking.
Oh wow, interesting. And we'll talk about your networking piece as well. If you could live in any city in the world, which one would it be?
Chandigarh.
Awesome.
Yeah. Beautiful place.
Good choice. What motivates you to keep going?
That 12th class fail Mandeep Arora, who had hit the bottom at that time in his life. I know how a failure looks like, I know how a failure feels like. So I never want to go there. So that my version inspires me to do best in each day I live in.
Interestingly, there was a time where even I didn't fail the class, but I got a compartment in my 11th. And if I didn't clear the retest, it would have meant that I would have failed class 11 as well. So we would have been almost in the same boat over there. Cool. So your top selling product?
It has to be wireless speakers now.
Yeah.
Apart from chargers and cables.
And when we talk about price points, what price point would that wireless speaker be in?
So since we are making in India, so we are super economical. I guess our entry level product starts from 999.
Amazing. Wow. And your favorite tech brand apart from Ubon?
Apple.
Of course. Yeah. All right. And will you pass Ubon as a company onto your child or children, or would you want professional management to come in and take it over?
So I'll see if my kids have the capability to take over. If they have the capability, we'll give it to them.
Love it. Super. That was awesome. I appreciate all the shares and quick ones as well. So you mentioned networking, okay, over marketing, and that's very interesting because a lot of people, when they introduce networking, they say, networking to matlab Amway back in the day, and over time also networking almost has a negative, connotation, maybe getting a little better now. But where was your introduction to networking? Where did it happen, and how has it become such an important part of, you today?
So networking started with me in Lajpur market only. There was a mentor whom I used to call, and he taught me one thing: if ever you're starting a product, take it like a project, not a product. Don't treat it like a commodity. Open the product, see what is in it, how you can improve the product. And this is, I'm talking like 2001 too. So important lesson. We used to have tea in the morning when the shop was being cleaned by the people, by the team, and that was my first taste of networking. Then second was BNI, which we both know, and now corporate connections.
Yeah, and I think in corporate connections you're making quite a lot of impact and waves, and of course we have a lot of common friends there. Akshay and Sheetal, of course, are very active.
Darlings, they are darlings. Yeah.
Big fans of yours as well.
A big fan of yours. Ask me.
I think they're amazing family. So really, enjoyed working with Jolly as a group, and of course, having them as friends. So
you have given them wings. They have done very well.
Yeah, thank you. And so corporate connections versus BNI. Okay, I know very, very different things, but because you have witnessed both, when do you think is the right time for someone to say, okay, maybe corporate connections is something for me to consider. Maybe they've been in BNI for a while as well.
I'll say in the beginning of the career, BNI is a very good platform to go with, and BNI is where you learn how to hustle. Yeah. And CC, corporate connections, I'll say is if you want to improve as an individual, then the power of association is going to do wonders.
True that. Yeah, and I think as a concept now, it's amazing where you've got, let's say, BNI, you've got CC, of course you've got EO as well. Yeah. The number of, people that are now gravitating towards these platforms. I mean, I remember when I was first invited to BNI and someone said, aapko ek meeting ke liye aana hai. So, and of course it's been now 13 and a half years. And
13 and a half years,
13 and a half years.
3 decades.
And the 13 and a half.
13, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first thing that came to mind, was at Amway ki meeting. I didn't even remember where I was, and that's when Paritosh took the phone and he said, listen, it's not Amway, just come and you see how it goes.
Yeah, Amway. A lot of people associated BNI with Amway, right?
Back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And then when I attended a meeting, I said, ठीक है, यहाँ कुछ धंधा मिले ना मिले, business मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा, but at least यहाँ कुछ सीखने को मिलेगा. And I think from that perspective, it was really a game changer where it just opens your mind to what the world really has in terms of learning and development and more.
People getting up early in the morning, they're hustling, they're reaching the networking site, and then they are talking about each other's business. So that was like an inspiring moment even back in the time.
So true.
So I also joined BNI like 10 years back, and I've joined 2 times, but it has been a learning experience for me.
For sure. Yeah. I think it's a great pathway for entrepreneurs. Again, like you said, when they're starting out for sure, even sometimes when they're slightly more established, it depends where you are in life, and again, what your why and purpose is.
What your why and goal is. Yeah, it all depends on that. Yeah, well. I've seen leaders like you still in BNI. I've seen maybe Shalin Gandhi.
Of course.
Yeah, he is there from like.
So, Shalin Bhai was my first pen vendor. So
wow.
When I needed, this is before consortium.
We have many common friends.
And I remember it was, we had got an order from Caltex, to make some pens. And, we used to buy those pens first from the Naresh Pen Company in Sadar Bazaar. But then someone told me there's this guy in Malad and go across and meet with him. And I remember, it was maybe 1997, 98, somewhere around that time. And, consortium was just beginning to kind of form. And then I met Shalin Bhai. And till date, we're very, very close. And, we're always exchanging, messages and all of that. And I tell anyone, you want anything to be done, okay, in Bombay, you call Shalin Bhai. Yeah. I mean, one time I remember there was a wedding happening. And I also had to do a webinar. And, like a session I was doing. And I said, Shalin Bhai, ek webinar karna, I need a place and an office. He goes, Gurudwara ka hai? So, I told him where the Gurudwara was. And it was somewhere near Bandra. He said, हो जाएगा, right? And I said, हो जाएगा मतलब ठीक है, somewhere around there, right? And then I reach, I reach Bombay. I said, tomorrow's the wedding. He says, गुरुद्वारा का address ये है, 3 building छोड़ के ये घर है, ठीक है, उसके अंदर तेरा पूरा setup already हो चुका है.
Wow.
I'm like, are you serious? And I actually walked in and I did, I attended a bit of the wedding, and then I walked 3 buildings away. This gentleman was there. He said, Shalin Bhai का phone आया, and he said, my office is there. अपनी कुर्सी छोड़ के, he said, आपकी lighting camera सब setup किया हुआ है. He said, मैं जा रहा हूँ, आप मेरे कुर्सी पे बैठ के कर लो. So that is the impact that he's had, and again, like I said, one of those phenomenal individuals as well.
Yeah, he and you, I guess, one of the few givers we have still in the society here.
Yeah, very kind. So let's go back a bit to the India story. Okay, and it's very interesting when you mentioned, yesterday when we were just having a small chat, and you spoke about small town India and the potential. When people are running, abroad and looking at, the global markets and all that, you said, "Wosa bhul jao." Look at a town like Kasganj. Okay, you spoke of the population, the demographics, the dynamics. Like, talk our listeners and viewers to that, because I think that blows my mind. When people say, "Oh, we need to go abroad," and be like, "Dude, look inwards." But I'd love to have your insights on that.
Yeah, so Gaurav, I also learned this lesson like 15, 20 days back only. If you go out of India, most of the cities in Europe, they have a population of 1 million, 2 million max. The big cities I'm talking about.
Sure.
Australia as a country has a very small population. So we were just wondering where should be approaching ahead in next 2 years. And then one of my RSM, regional sales manager, just came over. He said that I've been pushing our Aligarh guy to expand his business, and he's doing very less business. He's saying, "Bhai, I don't have a population." And then he said, "I just opened up the territories he has, and you won't believe, two of the towns. One was Kasganj, and what do you think, Manbhai? What will be the population of the Kasganj?" I said, "Maybe I've never heard of the name before. Maybe it will be like 4 or 5 lakh." He said it is 20 to 30 lakh.
Crazy. 30 lakh people in
30 lakh
Kasganj.
people in Kasganj, and we don't know the name of the city.
Same.
Now, see how powerful is this. India has got several cities like this, which we don't even know the name.
Yeah.
And they are big. Muzaffarnagar. I went to Muzaffarnagar last month, and I asked someone, what is the population of the city? It looked like a 10 lakh city. I Googled it. If I can recall well, if I'm right, it was 40 lakh plus. And by the name of it, what you will guess, like 10 lakh, 5 lakh maximum. So this is the potential we have in our own backyard. And the irony is, we are still going east or west. We should be working in India. India is the place. India is the country people are dreaming to work. Let it be Americans, let it be Europeans, let it be Chinese people. This is the market they are targeting. And as Indians, what we are doing, we are seeing other markets as a bigger market, or they have big potential. It is vice versa, actually.
100% agree. I spent a lot of time, last year traveling, both on speaking gigs and also for work. And we have an economy that, even in the worst case scenario, grew at 5.9%, maybe at 7.2%. You have Europe, okay, and parts of big cities in Europe, which are big countries in Europe, which actually have negative growth. I mean, UK was perhaps
negative
the worst
exactly,
performer,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Recession possibilities. I mean, big recession possibilities. People still are saying that they have no idea what's going to happen in the US and UK, as we move forward. But here we're crushing it, and tabhi log bole nahi yaar vilayat jana hai. I mean, it's almost like that colonial mindset that was there.
Mindset, yeah, you got it. Yeah, बिल्कुल आपने बिल्कुल ठीक पकड़ा उसको. It is that mindset is still going. But थोड़ा सा अभी break आ गया है. Now people have stopped going to Canada. It is no more, go to destination. People are coming back, and in fact, you will find many people coming back from US as well.
Very true.
So I think if you want to do a job, maybe executive job, maybe one should go to US or Canada. But if you want to do business, India is the place where you should be heading for.
Yeah, and even the job market in those countries is such a mess right now. And there's so many friends, who send their children to study over there, and they aren't getting jobs, so they're all coming back. So the point is, even the job market is so broken, in those places. And here, all said and done, I mean, we have a rocking economy, and hopefully, it's going to stay that way for the next couple of decades.
Yeah, we were having the same conversation with my daughter. I was having the same conversation. She is in the US. She's studying there, and she was also like, "Papa, I personally feel India has much more potential to offer us than US."
Yeah.
I said, yes, lifestyle might be better there, but India is the place where you should be starting your business or your career from.
So true.
Yeah.
Agree completely. Yeah, I think 100% in consensus. With you there as
Now
well.
you have traveled world, you know it better.
Yeah. No, and I see the body language. I see what the newspapers there are saying. I see what the general overall economy is looking like, and it's not compelling. I mean, it doesn't make much sense for most consumer brands to even be thinking about going down that path. I mean, their consumer brands are struggling. I mean, look at the bankruptcies, right? Toys R Us went down. They filed for bankruptcy. You had, just recently there was like another big department store that just went down. Name doesn't come to my mind right now, but just the number of bankruptcies in chapter. No, Target's doing okay. Yeah. But there've just been so many more. I mean, I was walking down a street in Seattle, and I was just seeing shop after shop after shop shuttered. That it said gone, out of business.
And this is just the beginning, I'll say. This is just the beginning.
Yeah. So I think definitely, India is well set.
Yes.
I thought, let me talk about now, and I'm going to ask you, okay, and I'll bring up a word. and then you can, elaborate on that in a sentence, or two as well. So one word questions and what comes to your mind, just go ahead and say that out loud. So the first one is Ubon.
Ubon. My heart. I'll say Ubon is where my heart is.
Love that. Right. Celebrity.
Celebrity, Honey Singh.
Okay, yeah, actually see the Honey Singh connection.
Still a Honey Singh fan, yeah.
Love it. What about Make in India?
Dream. Make in India is a dream which I am living.
Awesome.
It is a seed my father planted,
Yeah.
and we are seeing it coming up pretty well.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I did not believe in Make in India back in 2014 we started our factory. But then again, sunrise and sunset, which we often talk about. So it was pretty inevitable that there were going to be a lot of importers in future, and with the arrival of the new government, a lot of made in India, hawa ban rahi thi us time ke made in India hoga. But we must give credit to the government as well.
For sure.
The present government from last 10 years, if they have not given us any drawbacks or incentives, but they have made the environment very conducive for setting up factories here.
True that. Yeah, and I'm going back to again the similar time, maybe in the 2012, 13, 14. 80% of our products, maybe even 85% of our products would come from China.
Yeah,
right?
More than 90%, yeah.
And today, when people say what component of your products come from China, it's probably down to 5, 6, 7%. And I said, agar choice hai, to main usko bhi zero kar do. Right?
Wow.
But there are just a few things that we still struggle with, like sustainable products, for example. Like if I'm looking at, ocean waste, I'm saying, bags that are made out of bottles that have been brought out of the ocean. Now, India has not figured this out right now, but I think it's a great potential. That's
You're doing it? Wow.
So at the moment, of course, we import those, but the idea is to how can we start doing that? In fact, our entire sourcing team is working on using, metal, like recycled metal to make bottles, recycled metal to make pens. So the point is, these are our future trends, right? And I think if we can start doing that in India, currently, of course, these are still coming, from, global, either from China or Germany. But eventually the idea is to start getting into, making whatever they make there, over here and be 100%, Indian-oriented gifting company.
And what pride it must, it will bring. Wow, made in India product and recycled. I guess it will come up maybe next 1 year, maybe.
I'm sure. A lot of people are really innovating, I mean, back in the day, I don't even remember, power banks being made over here, right? And audio products, bahut dur ki baat hai, sochte bhi nahi the. But you're doing it. And just like you have hundreds of other entrepreneurs who are saying, hum yahan kyun nahi bana sakte? We can invest in the same machinery, okay? We can invest in like an ecosystem that's, of course, close. See, India can never be a Shenzhen, right? We know that. Like, India will never have, the
we are not global factory.
Right.
Let's
we can
accept
never
it.
be that, right? And when someone comes to us and say, make us like 5 million pieces, China will say 35 days kind of delivery. But here though we'll give a timeline of 6 months.
We'll say let's build up a new factory for you maybe, it's going to take time, yes. So numbers are definitely different than what Chinese are doing. But again, we are on the right path. I'll say if it has to be done, let's do it now.
Yeah. Almost like slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we're not trying to run like crazy, but we'll get there. Okay, awesome. So that was the Make in India piece. How about Gen Z? So thoughts on Gen Z?
So Gen Zs, I guess, they are very demanding. They want their value for money. Yeah. They're spending $100, they want 150 out of the product they're buying.
Yeah, they know what they want.
They know, they're very clear.
Very, more than value driven. I think they're very demanding as a customer.
Very demanding.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. Innovation,
Ubon, we want to, launch products which are not there in India. So that is something which is very close to my heart as well. We take a lot of pride in launching the first wireless power bank in India, the first wireless Bluetooth speaker with the power bank in India. Yeah.
And I think innovation has been so important because, like you mentioned, you've been able to spot the trends. You went from VCP to VCR to VCD to and you've been very quick at spotting trends, right? How have you been doing this? Like, how do you keep your eye on the pulse and decide that, okay, ab isko band karna and usko start karna? How do you decide when it's time to jump to the next big thing?
So I'll be honest with you, I don't decide that. I just go on the street and listen to what people are saying.
So important.
We just try to catch the trend. Yeah. So streets are where streets make you smart, Offices just spoil us. So I travel 15 days a month. I travel across India. And believe you me, there are a lot of learnings lying down there. Customer is literally willing to give you all the inputs. The only thing is who's listening. Right. So we have got a very strong feedback mechanism at Ubon. We believe feedback is the breakfast of champions.
Love that.
So we strive for that and we thrive on that.
Just okay now. ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, if you've been listening to that, okay, that is such an important point, because what is happening today is that people have just become comfortable, sitting, on their phones, sitting behind, their computers, not really willing to get out and get feedback from the people that really matter, your consumer that's out there in the street. Sales teams aren't going out and meeting people. They're thinking Zoom pe sab kuch ho jayega, that things can be achieved on Zoom, but you really have to get out in the market, just like it was in the olden days. I mean,
Yes.
you'd hear about the levers, you hear about all the FMCG guys, and even top management was getting out there and talking to Kirana Bazaar owners, small shopkeepers, getting their feedback. And it's just amazing that you do that, because I think that if there's something that's been lost in the last, again, in the post-pandemic world, is that people have just stopped going out, and they just believe that surveys or online forms will give them the feedback that they want, but that's not true.
Yeah, they will give you a gist, I guess, perhaps. And I was reading a story from Prakash Iyer. One of his books. I was reading about the great leaders are born that way. I was reading a story about Indra Nui. How she went with Prakash Iyer like 20 years back in Tamil Nadu, and then they were at a very small shop, and there was a dust. There was some dust on a container. Indra Nui, picked out a hanky from her pocket and cleaned it. Yeah. So that is the power of the leader,
Yeah.
And the lessons we as students learn from these type of leaders are invaluable, and they provide a lot of insights as well. When they can do it, why can't we?
So then, if we look at a few more of these, and competition. So your thoughts on competition, and what comes to your mind when you think competition?
So I know it might sound outrageous, but we humbly say this thing at Ubon to ourselves: Ubon is not number one; we are the only one.
Like that.
So we have to get out things which no one else is doing. We have to bring out those practices which no other brand is doing, and we are very uniquely placed for that matter.
Yeah, but you see competition sometimes as also a driver or someone that to be
Indeed.
fearful of. I mean, your thoughts, slightly if you go a little more in depth into competition.
So I'll say competition is there in the market, of course. Competition is always challenging you, but the perspective you have towards the competition and the market defines your place in the industry. If you're open to the challenges, if you're continuously innovating yourself. See, Gaurav, अगर आप अपने आप को इतना innovate कर रहे हो, every second week or every month you are getting new products, and you are continuously listening to your customers' feedback. You have no time for the competition. Because competition is just copying you. Competition is just following you.
Yeah, I love that. So your approach is almost like just be so far ahead of them in terms of innovation,
customer-centric,
on the customer management, creation of products, etc. That they'll be playing the catch-up game.
Yeah, they'll be playing the catch-up
awesome.
game. Yeah.
I love another book, and I don't know if you ever had a chance to read Seabiscuit. But the movie, of course, is there. Okay. But the book
Seabiscuit.
Fantastic book. Okay, and Seabiscuit as a horse, and it's a very interesting story because the horse was broken, the jockey was broken, and even the trainer was broken. So 3 broken people. Okay, and they come together. Lovely movie. It's got Tobey Maguire, but the book is even better. It's actually one of my favorite books. And in that, the thing is, Seabiscuit as a horse would never do great in the race. Okay, but as soon as Seabiscuit from the side of his eye would see that another horse is coming, then he would just take off. So it's almost like the competition became, the big driver for him. And he's actually, Seabiscuit was one of the most, famous racehorses of all time.
Amazing.
So fantastic. Like I said, again, for viewers and, even for yourself, if you haven't read the book, read it.
Look forward to read the book,
It's phenomenal. It's like, so.
We all are Seabiscuits in that matter, I guess,
Yeah.
Seabiscuit, right?
Seabiscuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so the jockey was broken, was not supposed, like broken in the sense that just, wasn't performing in any form. The horse itself was, a reject, and was never expected to do anything great.
Very interesting.
And the trainer, who was training was also an outcast. So how the 3 of them came together and they created this, this entire story, and true story. And amazing. So one of those that I really,
I look forward to read it,
yeah. All right. Few more to go. Happiness.
Happiness is growth. Wherever I see growth in my relationships, in my physical strength, mindset, that is happiness for me.
Yeah, lovely. Passion.
You won.
For sure. Motivation.
Books. I read a lot of books. I learn from them, and motivation also comes from the people around me. So I deliberately put myself in the association of the people from whom I can learn.
Love that. Technology.
Apple, I guess.
Yeah. And, interesting in terms of what Apple is starting to do in China vis-a-vis India. And I read for the first time ever between the 2nd of January and the 5th of January, I think it was, that Apple actually discounted all their products in China. So everything went on sale in China.
My God,
Right.
really?
Yeah, and this thing obviously it's happening because of what's happening with the local Chinese players, and I think there's a lot of Chinese pride also, like what we have in the Make in India piece and consume in India. I think in China people are really gravitating towards Huawei and all the local brands, and I think Apple is kind of feeling the pressure. I think Tesla is feeling the pressure as well, and perhaps
they're
that's
feeling
why.
the heat, yeah.
But Apple in India, I mean, phenomenal story, right? And yesterday I was talking to the team, and they're like, today people want to buy an iPhone, even if it means taking a loan that could go 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, but they want that iPhone.
Yeah, most of my team has Apple, and I'm amazed. And Apple is literally thriving on this.
Yeah.
And people are buying on, what do you call them? What do you call it?
The EMIs.
EMIs, yes,
yeah,
EMIs. They're buying on EMIs. Amazing.
Yeah.
But in China, the story, as you summed it up pretty well, Huawei and other players, Chinese people are taking a lot of pride in buying made in China goods and products.
Do you ever think you might get into mobile phones yourself, or it's too competitive a market?
I won't say it's competitive. It's a very nice market. A lot of Delta is good
Yeah.
in the products, but I'll still stick to my cup of tea, which is accessories.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. I think the accessories will always have to be replaced, upgraded.
Yes,
Cables will
yeah.
always be.
So this is what I
needing
love. This is what I
replacement.
love.
Yeah.
And for the mobile phones, again, as a good student, I've learned you need to have a good service center, network across India.
Very true.
Without that, you will badly fail.
It's an interesting point that you touch upon, because often what happens is, people buy a product with a promise and a guarantee that, yes, big things will happen. But the product or the brand is not able to give the desired level of service. And they say, send it back to us and then we'll see. And that can be a deal breaker for many. So how is this service center element been instrumental for Ubon?
So for Ubon, I'll say it's our superpower. So most of the online brands, what they do is you buy some stuff from the online brand, or the so-called startups. If the product goes faulty, you will be asked to go to a service center, and the service center will ask you like 15 days. I'm sure you have never gone to a service center, but I'm talking about the normal people, the common people. They go to the service center, they ask 15 days, we'll replace it or we'll change it. And then what happens is they will change a faulty part in that, and maybe if you're lucky, they'll give you in 15 days, or if you're not, they will ask another 15 days from you. But with Ubon, what happens is you can get our product replaced free of charge.
Really?
From 3,000 to 4,000 touch points we have across India.
Wow.
So that is the superpower which an offline brand can only have. So this is the customer delight we are really looking at.
Fantastic. And I don't think there'd be too many people who could even conceive doing something like that.
They dream of doing it, but the intention is not right. Actually, intention is what matters. So at Ubon, customer overwhelming experience is the most thing. The thing we take pride in.
So true. And I think that's what's leading to repeat business, referral business.
Exactly.
Word of mouth, right? I think that's the most powerful marketing that one can really have. Yeah. So true. Right. Friends. So when it comes to friends, what's coming to your mind? Because I know everyone says, "Boss, Mandeep is yaro ka yaar." And that's something I hear a lot. So friends and your thought on that.
Friends, I'll say the TV show we used to watch back then in our childhood. That comes to my mind. Amazing show. We still watch it time to time.
Right. Yeah. But like I said, I think the relationships that you have built, has just been phenomenal. Again, with your friends and the network.
I guess that is one of the most strongest pillars in my life.
Yeah.
The way I've learned a lot from my friends. We have a very good time together, and this is something which is a very basic need of a human as well.
And of course, you've done another podcast with a friend and someone who had done law with you, back in the day as well. But have you also realized that there are times where you have to let go of certain friends because they're just not maybe aligned or able to keep up, or may even be pulling you back? Have you had those kind of instances in your life as well, where there are people who said that itna kyun kar raha hai, or like slow down?
They call me a machine. Some of my friends call me a machine, and I humbly take that. I'm open to the criticism as well, but at the same time I want to spend time with them as well.
Got it.
As long as we are enjoying the time together.
Of course.
So normally I work out with my friends or play something, cricket or football.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, because I think it's also your environment is very important in keeping you driven as well. So I think
100%,
there
100%.
friends come in a big way. So we're going to bring this to an end because I know you have some
I have few
commitments
questions for you
ahead.
as well.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
fire away.
Okay, yeah. So, few questions from my side, Gaurav. I know this is first of its
I
own
know,
kind.
no one's ever put me on the spot in my podcast, but okay, let's give this a shot.
So, first thing is, what is your why for GBA and consortium?
Okay. So I love that. And of course, since it is start with why, I think when I started the GBA, I did set a number in mind. It was about taking 100,000 business owners and helping them add 100 jobs in their organizations.
Amazing.
So 100,000 business owners, 100 jobs. An average family has 4 people, right? So hence now if you do 100,000 into 100 into 4, okay, you made an impact on 4 crore people straight
40
away,
million, I'll say, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the other aspect is, so it's not only business owners, but it's also working professionals and graduating students. So, because there is a large, number of, working students out there that we interact with, working professionals and students. So also to take 9 lakh, working students and empower them to live the 10x life. When you see the 10x, everywhere.
I love
10x
this.
is,
I love this, yeah.
it's a life without limitations, right? So hence a number is, I always say it's, 4 crores, 9 lakhs. And there was also a date, that I put to it that it was to be achieved by a particular date. So kind of a combo between a goal and a why, but I think that's a very strong driver. So even when I'm speaking somewhere, and there may even be sometimes, as few as 5 people or as many as like 7,000 people in the room, it doesn't matter. I always come and deliver, 100%. And some of my team is like, "Ab itna time kyun de rahe ho? Kitna effort kyun de rahe ho?" I said, listen, if we can impact the lives of even a certain percentage of people over there, it'll all be worth it. So that's the GBA's why. Consortium why very interesting. It was in around 2012 when I was kind of setting up, the mission / you can say almost a why. And I said we want to be Asia's largest gifting company. Okay, and at that time, I mean, of course, like today we're in an older office building. We were in an office which had. Our first office, okay, was home, obviously, because I started the company from home. The second office was Bharatnagar ke andar, छोटा सा कमरा, मतलब maybe a little bigger than what you had.
Delhi, Bharatnagar? Ashok Vihar?
No, Bharatnagar, अपना New Friends Colony के पास था, छोटी सी जगह थी. So maybe again must have been a few hundred square feet. And that's where we really started out from. And I said in 2012, even before we moved to this building, which is our old office building, I said we want to be Asia's largest gifting company. And everyone laughed at me and they're like, भाई मतलब अपनी शक्ल तो देख क्या है, तेरे पास 8-10 लोगों का हमारा staff था. So I said no, it's going to happen by a particular date. And today when we go out, we're winning the largest, contracts, globally and in the world and everything else. And everyone's saying, okay, you're already, up there as one of India's best. And you are going to make your way towards, Asia's best. So yeah, we're taking on a lot of our, counterparts locally, globally. So that's really there. And I think another thing I really want is that I want to build an organization that has 1,000 people. And in that organization, I want each and every stakeholder to have their own home, have a vehicle and have shareholding in the organization in some form or the other.
Consortium city maybe,
Yeah. So that really is, the vision behind both companies.
Amazing. I'll say this as well on this podcast too, that whenever it comes to gifting industry, Consortium and Gaurav Bhagat are, 2 prominent names. You'll ask them and they say, yes, मैं जानता हूँ, मैं, मैंने काम किया हुआ है. The better thing is मैंने काम किया हुआ है, So this is the beauty and the relationship I guess you have built up, Yeah,
just like you said, God is kind, and I think a key reason for our success has been our team. So truly, hungry, driven team, and they don't compromise on their culture and values.
Wow.
So I think the values that we set of the organization, I think everyone's in line with that, and everyone thinking big picture. No one's thinking, "Hi, our time pass hai, I guys." So I think that is super, and I think my biggest victory, if one was to ask me years down the line, what was the biggest victory that you ever had? I think it was the team we created, the people we empowered, and the impact we left on the world. So
wow, amazing. Yeah. More power to you. And how about the biggest challenge you ever faced?
There've been many challenges.
The biggest one,
Many, but I think
लगाओ जहाँ अब ये अब नहीं हो पाएगा कुछ, बस.
So I don't think it was personal, from that. I don't think I ever gave in or threw in the towel because my school motto was never given. So that was our school motto.
Which school?
This used to be Lawrence School Sana. So we used to sing "Never Give In," and that was our school motto. So I think giving in or giving up was never really
never an option.
The thought. But I think there was a time where I think when my mother's health really deteriorated and we lost her. In fact, just yesterday would have been 21 years since we lost her. So at the time I was 24, 25, starting out. So a lot of things that were really happening. So I think that was one tough time where emotionally I said, okay, that I need to shut down a little bit and be slightly less emotional in situations. But I think in the early 20s, losing your mom and going through a lot of
Can be
crisis at work.
devastating,
It was a tough time. So yeah, perhaps that one.
Okay, and where do you see, GBA after 5 years?
So I see ourselves as one of the top, training and consulting firms, because training, okay, I'm making a lot of impact, but now we're looking at bringing in a lot of, other people into the ecosystem who could be fellow trainers, and also build up like a consulting arm. And I truly feel that, we should be like, well, I won't say a poor man's McKinsey, but just, a more affordable version of a big global consulting firm. So that's where we're really headed towards. Might take a little more than 5 years, but the wheels are in motion, and we'll see.
But I'll say that's the right path to go as well, because India is coming up with an army of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
There are a lot of industrialists coming over, and I guess they will be needing some mentors, and this is the right time. This is the right vision. I cannot agree more with you on this.
Yeah, and I walk the talk, right? I mean, like you said, there's so many relationships that go way back, because no one can really say that, Gaurav or consortium made a fool of us, or GPA made a fool of someone. Today, unfortunately, the training world is going through a bit of, trust deficit, where people don't know who to trust. Everyone's lapetoing, upselling, all of that, which is fine, which is, their model. But I think no one can really say that, we as an organization have ever, duped anyone or had any or malintention towards anyone. So yeah,
that is great, amazing. And I'll say the last one is going to be, I've seen so many upscale brands in your showroom. What is luxury according to Gaurav Bhagat?
So to my mind, luxury is something that just makes you feel great when you're using that product, when you're wearing that product, when you're in the ecosystem of that product. So I think that feeling that it gives you, I think to my mind, that's very, very powerful. And it doesn't have to be super expensive. So people think that okay, it has to be like super expensive to be luxury. I don't think that's really the thing. But I think it's just about how it makes you feel when you're in the ecosystem of utilization and more. So I think that to my mind would probably be luxury.
Amazing. That's a well put statement as well. And it was good, Gaurav. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing
So I mean, like I
podcast.
said, no one's ever questioned me on my podcast, but I think that was an interesting aspect as well. So as we come to our concluding piece as well, so just love to know, where do you see Ubon going in the next few years? What do you have as the game plan for you and the organization?
So Ubon, as I discussed earlier, in next 5 years, I see Ubon as one of the biggest players in made in India, homegrown accessory brand, which is really making in India, not putting up some scam doing assembling in India.
Yeah.
And like 5,000 people working in Indian factories making Ubon products.
Awesome.
That is the big dream I have on my vision board. Yeah.
Love it. And I have no doubt. And, I think that you're only going to go from strength to strength. And with your passion, drive, and commitment, it truly are going to leave the ecosystem a better place. So really enjoyed this conversation.
Same here.
And I have some, gifts, for you that I'd love to give you.
A gift from consortium. It has to be special.
Yeah, so this is, I know you're big on goal setting, and this is, it's the Scaling with GB goal planner, and it's a goal planner that I conceptualized, and of course I'm going to sign that for you as well.
Amazing.
And it's something that is, like I said, very dear to my heart.
Wow,
So I'd like
thank
to
you.
have that as well.
Thanks a lot.
And also, we did
I love the
talk
quote, whatever it takes.
whatever it takes, right? And then of course I have something for you from Shantanu Nikhil. So
Amazing,
that's,
amazing, amazing. Thank
Shantanu
you.
Nikhil pen, because I know you love to write.
Wow.
And I also know that you love to travel. And hence, we recently
Very thoughtful gifts.
created something which is the Shantanu Nikhil passport holder.
Amazing.
So
Wow.
That's for you as well. So yeah.
Kamal, big fan of these
Just,
guys.
Yeah.
And I was so amazed to see them on your show.
Yeah, they did the inaugural episode of this particular studio, and
Wow.
you're the second person here. But I love their vision. I love again, their passion and what they stand for, and of course the great products they're creating as well.
Yeah. And, continuing the talk we were having, this is one book built to last. Since, you are saying, you're seeing consortium and GBA, doing 10x in next 5 years.
Right. Oh, I love Jim Collins. I mean, of course, I've read Good to Great, but Built
Good
to
to
Last,
Great is one of the
would be-
best sellers.
Yeah, would be the next step. So
Yeah.
awesome. So thank you so much for that.
I look forward to your, your version, what the book, what your takeaways.
Awesome.
And this is one of the wireless stands we have launched.
Oh, lovely. And it's magnetic and can go on a dashboard. And
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's going to make driving easier, navigation easier.
Love it.
You just need to, stick your phone on the car stand.
Yeah, big fan of Ubon products. In fact, I use your power bank, which has all the multi cables and all that. And I bought it, I think, like 3 years ago, and I still use it because
Wow.
it's got for the iPod, like for the iPod, for the headphones, for the
You're
iPhone,
too
it's got
kind.
all the cables. So yeah, I love that. Power
You're
bank.
too kind. Thank you. This is one of the MagSafe power banks.
Oh, love it.
Standing true to our punchline, born to be free.
Awesome.
We want our users to use products without the cables.
Love it. So two firsts. First time someone brought gifts for me on the podcast, and of course, first time anyone asked me questions. Again, Mandeep, I think you're just one amazing individual, and wishing you, your brother, and uncle, a phenomenal,
Thank you.
journey ahead. So
You're too
thank you so
kind,
much.
and I'm wishing GB and Consortium the wings.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.